Welcome back. This one's going to be a little more Atlantis related focused. Basically, so I've been talking about the current flows that flowed from the mantle puncture hole in India, Western India here, what would become Western India, in all directions, but then the Earth was rotating, which led to a sort of focused beam of the current, which then ran into like the central region of the mound almost. So maybe what I drew here is not how it. I mean, I guess it kind of is. Yeah, that's probably right. That's probably good. I was just thinking maybe it was more appropriate to be more like this. But this is probably fine. Besides the point, the currents generally focus one way over here, and then a wider fanning current going this way. Okay, so I've been proposing for a while that in passing, but it's been coming up a little more, especially in just this line of reasoning, not even like, it's not like I went for Atlantis, it just came up in the line of reasoning where now it's like starting to become more of something I am returning to, where I feel like it's likely Flemish Cap. Okay, and I talked about that a bit in the Fall of Atlantis episode a couple episodes ago. These are kind of related. Everything's related to this, generally speaking, but these three are most related to what I'm talking about right now. So, I had this thought that I wanted to bring to mind. Bring to it. Bring to attention? Maybe mind is appropriate. Bring to thoughts. That maybe this current here like interacted with an ocean, because I've been talking about recently that's as the current flowed this way, it basically accumulated this like dense mound that ended up being here as its boundaries, that the current went down here, and the mound probably generally was like essentially it was a region of pre-existing continental crust that was all part of this one single landmass where this current is flowing under, but then it's passing through a wet region that seemingly causes the current that flows very much like this, like to become much more like this, where here it's like flowing like this, nothing like extensively mound developing through this region, it seems, but then suddenly across here we just run into like mounds. It's almost like it hit water and started to basically become rapidly solidified and like fall out, precipitate out of the current and be just kind of stuck there. But then the current moved the precipitated materials into mounds over time that essentially shaped the Rencha mound. So the Rencha mound, this huge mound over here, that even probably like the currents interacting as well produce this mound with water. Like, there's probably water somewhere in this region. There's water across this boundary, perhaps like right at, so like from here, boom, hit water, and right here we hit water because seemingly because very rapidly afterwards we see these mounds form that just aren't really forming in the currents prior, so it strongly suggests there was a pre-existing body of water atop the continental crust of the single landmass. The single landmass of Earth that was all of the continental crust combined in a single landmass still had regions where water pooled, and those were still oceans. And so that gives strong support to the concept that there was water around Flemish Cap at the time of this current flowing past. So that's what I'm thinking, is there is like a cold denseness to this region that is manifesting due to a interaction with water in the region that then, like, probably because it's just like an ocean that has water saturated deep down below into the basin of the crust to like practically to the mantle boundary, where the undercurrent was able to interact with the water enough to like cool from its just coolness, its lower temperature and heat capacity, ability to just be like, I'll take that heat and I'll go up there. I'll take that heat, get out of the way, next water in line, let's go, take that heat out of the way, and just streamline this removal of heat from the passing lava flow that then solidifies it sufficiently to start to really produce this backstop here. But then the currents that aren't solidified flow around it, so that down here, this current down here seems to stay a little less influenced. Although maybe this is accreted, I don't think this is considered accreted now. This is accreted. Maybe it is, actually. Yeah, I guess it's probably accreted. Okay, 0.4 billion, so 400 million. So this is accreted early on. Wait, is it accreted? That doesn't make sense because Flemish Cap is not accreted. Okay, like this portion is not accreted, which actually included Flemish Cap. Maybe this map shows it better. So we see that sharp tip seemingly coming out above Spain. Okay, essentially my thought is like it produces a mound, but then by in so doing, the current that actually is able to go past and around the mound goes around it at still hot and fluid and flowing, and really flows more so down here, where it then interacts with this current, whereas over here, like it went through, but it really pushed a mound to make a boundary over here and created like a closed off little segment, essentially, where the currents were flowing and influencing the region, but it was like less able to flow into it than around it. So like they were preferentially flowing around it, pushing up the Appalachians in part of the current flows. Maybe it's almost a separator between what went in and what went out. Sort of like over here in this region. Oh, there's like a boundary where the current had like an inlet, like here. And through Hudson Bay, like through this region. But down like here, and then met this side of the current to kind of create a boundary of the cold, dense stuff and the more fluid stuff over here. And then it went around here, through here generally, but also ran into this one, which I guess vibrated it out this way, almost into like a sprinkle head, sprinkler, or a shower head thing. It's got some outlets. They're probably like here, 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 here. But are also flowing out this way. Up here. Up this way. And then also down this way. Through here. To here, which then goes into here. And this is where Papua New Guinea is. Through here, we can kind of see that region of it at least. And then through Solomon Islands, which is really where it's physically along this last stretch here, flowing into here. Seemingly flowing like a liquid, hot, it's not yet solidified, Pei-ho-ho. I don't know if I said that right. Just show me them. I don't want words. I guess I can do this. Here we go. Like this versus like this. Smooth, lobed, sometimes ropey. Rough, rubbly, often sharp. Smooth. What else did I say? Lobed. Oops. Lobed. Sometimes ropey. Rough, rubbly, often sharp. Rough, rubbly, often sharp. So this is like cooled enough, probably by passing through water. So maybe that's related to, that's pretty much related to the explosivity of a volcano is the presence of water versus the non-presence of water. Like the big island of Hawaii is probably so hot that it has just like evaporated the majority of water, so it has like a truly pay ho ho type of emissions and not really explosive because the water's not able to get in. At least not yet. But it flowed like that and like that, pretty much, as two separate flows. One was as sort of a hot and cold, and then they, perhaps, I'm thinking like because essentially the dense flow is over here, kind of like this region has some density, and then the Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands stretch here has this like low density channel. So this is kind of suggestive that when the channel was over here, it had like two separate kind of flows into South America that mixed, like a hot and cold that mixed to create like a flame structure, but where the flame structure had sort of like a more of the hot flow here and more of the dense cold flow in the central region, maybe. And then again, more of the hot fluid flow down and lower. Not sure if that makes sense. I'm just kind of spitballing in that case. We could say I'm spitballing always, but same, I would say, mirror. Anyone who's like, I know better than this guy, I'd be like, what, you ain't spitballing? Mm-hmm. It's just a process. It's just a process. Simple as that. Like, to not go through the process is fun, but it's still just a process where it's impossible to just know the truth. It must take steps along the way that sometimes go in the wrong direction. And then, like, oh, go in the wrong direction. Oh, that way. Go the other way. But, like, you can't get there just by denying even taking steps. No, we're only going this way. Only this way. Only this way. Only this way. Only this way, dude. Only this way. Only this way. I know I'm kind of ironically saying that, perhaps, considering I feel like I have found, perhaps at least, even if not the truth, like a route to the truth enough to be like, only this way. But maybe that's inappropriate because it's just not the route to the truth, because it's, again, just choose love. Choose love. But choose love means don't do things that are not loving. So anyone who's saying those things and are doing unloving things, I mean, not really. It doesn't make sense. That's why, like, making sense is probably important. So there's a current that generally comes down here and cuts here, from here, into the Mariana Trench to create it physically across here. I feel like this could be modeled. Maybe not by me, because it's a little complex to model. But for sure, it could be modeled. We could take a globe, a sphere, and just like pretend like there's a current flowing in all directions and it's rotating, and modify the variables enough, like I was saying in the last video, to essentially like continuously adjust until like by just simply having a puncture hole and a mantle flowing out in all directions with like certain nuances, like, and then it like cools at beyond this location where water pre-existed to like cause a coolingness to change the flow rates here and the density and just shape the region in ways that wouldn't necessarily be accounted for otherwise, like that kind of thing, to essentially model it in just a sufficient degree where just based on the basic inputs of here's a mantle flowing in all directions and this is the end result. See Earth, and here's the modeled currents in all directions, how it looks just like Earth because that's what just happens when like circumstances inclusive of this water being there, perhaps like wherever there's ocean maybe is maybe even up here. Like this current, like probably up here in this like this region seems to have had water in it. Maybe not focusedly on Atlantis, but generally around it. I've also thought about like the oceans having almost like a ammonite like pattern on the pre-existing Earth before it expanded, where they just kind of spiraled around the Earth. So sailing it would just go around and up and down. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe with ways to cross between along the way. That would be crazy. With Atlantis is just like an island amongst the route. That maybe went up this way. I don't know. Okay. So that's kind of what I wanted to add, was just that concept of that, like, based on these currents and this sudden emergence of like a high density of material past this relatively low density region where the current was just flowing through without really resistance. Just like this. Here it met resistance because it was forming like a brachia structures within it that were then still getting pushed. Until like this generally got shaped, leading to a current generally going this way around it, and wrapping around in this way in part, probably like through here, more so than this way. Like I don't think it went this way. I think it went this way and out, and then this way and in, with like a dividing segment here where this current went down right into here, as well as just straight through along this boundary through here, where it then vibrated out here. And essentially kind of drilled in the backside of this to then flow in this way, and it just stabilize the pressure on all sides and just create an equilibrium on the planet overall by the process occurring. Once like that's what's happening, as it's being driven to a new equilibrium. We can kind of see right across here, really right across here, right across here, right to where Hawaii is. Oh my god. I really feel like these currents, like as the earth expanded, the current was more so this way, but then it like widened out this way because it had space to flow over here, so it kind of just was able to move this boundary over and then ended up going more this way where there's basically it met the other current over here and then went down, like it had a balancing point that moved to a new equilibrium that really goes right across here. Like here, I guess. In this region. There's so many aspects of it. It's like the currents are hitting it at certain angles and moving it the whole process. Like it's not just moving, it's still like being moved by the currents, the balance of the currents. Balance of the currents moves down this way, breaks off chunks as it goes out of sync here, like they down and around, up and over, until it reaches a new sync down here at the very baseline here. Initially up here, vibratory transition phase, new balance, where after the vibratory transition phase, it starts to rapidly move this direction, pretty much. But before it, it was really flowing down because it was like pinched in the resistance, but then down here, it was basically above the resistance, above the current, so it kind of got shot off kind of thing because it's off the top of it, so it kind of bounces like the particle of Hawaii rolling down this way, depositing seamounts as it breaks apart, as the focus of the beams changes position downward. Then it just launches it as it gets stuck in this like wide beam, this beam generally here, right here, from here down to here, there's like from here down to here. Here, down here, here, here. Sun even seems to go like this and down and kind of like some sort of vibratory thing going on. The energy keeps going, but it's not able to move Hawaii anymore. And then the current flowing in there just kind of flows down into Hawaii, I guess, like because there's this mass there, it's pushing down, so it's causing the currents to kind of flow around the boundary of it. Meanwhile, this other current from a top here, like right around here, I guess, is going here. No, I'm trying to get to here. Where's this current? This current's here. here. It's maybe from the Himalayas. It's hard to say. But it seems to, this current coming in here, seems to divide. Generally from here, maybe it's like this. Like all of this with a pinch point around here. Yeah, this structure that just fans out like this. With a pinch pot structure there. Or even here more so. That then comes down through here and fans out here. So it's got one current coming down here. Or, yeah. Current coming down here at this boundary. So it's really this current. This current here is producing this. But then there's a current flowing more from the Himalayan region, Tibetan Plateau region. It cuts across this kind of crossing current section region here and flows more across to here. Maybe from here. Maybe this is specifically related like this to that portion where there's like all this stuff going on, which are wave shapes, especially noticeable here, but continuing through it. And then here, but then they also fall down here and then suddenly connect through to this thing along channels. Which is converging with the current from Papua New Guinea, which is really this current. So it's kind of like these currents go out of sync and then they reconverge down here. Through all the way through these on one side and then through here the other side. Where they then reconverge, produce this spiral region. So there's a current coming in along this way. That's really from here. I mean, maybe this thing is producing these lobes over here. They are kind of relative to that position even here. And there's probably a lobe here. Like generally here maybe. Maybe this is where it reconnected. From like here. Like another lobe. Or like here's a lobe maybe. And then another lobe. Because down here, this chunk generally broke away from here and moved down. So maybe it is right there. Like this. Through here. And then corner of a lobe and then back upward, or like generally up here, maybe back up this way. And then inward again. Across, maybe they like to wherever in here. I was thinking down there, but I'm looking at the terrain, maybe not. If this is, if that's happening, it seems plausible based on over here and based on this structure that maybe it would produce more than these lobes. And then like this does look like this region is related to this current from out here, so maybe this is kind of where a boundary is. That was kind of like here. Kind of makes sense to me. I don't know exactly why, but then there's a bunch of lobes. 1, 2, even 2 though. 3. Probably easier seeing here though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are like bonds though, I guess. Whereas the inner ones are more so like here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then 5. 5. Like they do look like they're generally getting smaller. Like that's pretty big down to here. This was probably in here, generally speaking. And then from there to here to this volcano, probably precisely. And then around here to around here. Then again, around here. It newly formed a lobe out here by the way of the process, but it seems like maybe it had one here, though. And here. Okay. Okay. That might help in some ways. Like maybe there's like inward lobes around here somewhere. That is where it was connected there. This was probably up here. I haven't really gone through this very much. This was probably generally here, which was then generally in this area. So then over here, this was closed. It would kind of be around this region, I guess, where it starts to have those lobes. So it kind of has lobes. For sure it has something of that nature going on like inwardly. Enough where maybe they like are from this region. Because essentially Antarctica was, this was over here, Madagascar was up here, India was generally over adjacent here, and then Antarctica filled in the space here up until it ran into this chunk here that's probably around here, it seems. Ran into this chunk, I guess, here. And then they separated, and this one rebonded where Antarctica was bonded here. in a large bond because of these currents flowing, probably. Like, there's currents flowing through here, which are really just maybe just draining through this, like, opening kind of thing that then the currents are flowing into and producing a wall and just filling the bond, forming the bond. Maybe. And then Australia was connected to this here, which was seemingly way up here. Like Southeast Asia, Australia, Philippines, Sulawesi, Maluku Islands, Northern Maluku, Papua New Guinea, or western region of Papua New Guinea that I'm not sure what it's called, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, and then that connected here to here, Solomon Islands basically to the tip there, which then was there, and this was closed. This was essentially connected downward from this connection point downward this way. And then this was down here, like adjacent here. And then they cross currents here with the Papua New Guinea stream and the cooler stream, maybe, like the denser materials that are getting swept this way. Maybe because this current is running into this mound, it's kind of breaking materials off. And because it's like a dense mound, it's taking like the more subtle materials out of it to like bring them along over here so that when the current passes, it's actually transporting some of this material with it. The dense material, but the more subtle portions of it that then gets swept over here and piled up over here, maybe. In this region, like maybe that's where that's coming from. All the more subtle materials. Okay. Which maybe even originate in part from the from the ocean, the previous ocean. That'd be crazy. Probably not the case, but just got like reconverted to a new age somehow by the lava flows, rejuvenating it so it literally looks younger. Okay, I don't know if I finished every like train of thought that came along. I almost never do. But I hope that was progress. It seemed like it was progress. Some of these videos in the hindsight, I'm like, maybe that wasn't actually a good video. As good as I thought it was initially. Like, I'll name it something clever. Oh, da-da-da-da. Let me see if I can find one that I don't feel is that great and it hugs. Like, it really goes a little counter to the things I'm saying because I'm still working through them. At least hugs. I'm sure there's many that like, at this point, chasing waterfalls, I think I might have disagreed with at this point. No. Certainly some of the Hawaii ones that I've changed enough. These ones, maybe. Especially this one, the Hawaiian Himalayas. I don't think this is true. At least not the way I described it, as being like a sphere with like a protruding, like, supernova. So there's that. There's the little current that could. We're pretty much referring to, at that point, this current, which is the little current that could, because it just goes everywhere and shapes the earth, whereas this one is the big current that couldn't. Maybe. Alright, till next time.